Hello there. Welcome back to the ANA podcast. I'm Ashley, and today we are going to be doing kind of like a fun video, I guess. I've been watching a lot of S tier ranking videos. I think they're so funny. And so I have the idea of doing an S tier that ranks different obscure biblical stories that we might not be familiar with. There's so many funny things in the Bible, and I just think this could be fun. This is going to be very casual. I'm going to switch my camera over to show my screen so that we can do this S tier thing together, and I'll kind of explain it a little more when it's all set up. All right, I'm back. This is how this is going to work. So the very first box on top is called the S tier, so the red box. And this is like the superior. This is like the best of the best when you're ranking. And then they descend in order. So it's like you're receiving a grade. Like if you got an S, it's like the best it could possibly be. Next down, it's like, yeah, it's pretty good, but not the best. Midline. Getting to the yellow, it's like, well, this is not, it's going downhill. And the bottom one, green, is like, this is the worst thing ever. So I have 13 pictures at the bottom. I don't know if you can actually see them, but um, the first one over on the left is Korah's rebellion. The next one is Balaam's donkey. The next one is David and 200 Philistine foreskins. The next one is a dead woman on a porch. Well, I'm gonna talk more about these when we're ranking them. Lot's wife turning to salt. Who's that one? Oh, Samson ripping a lion apart. The next one is a boy falling out of a window when Paul is talking. The next one is a prophet stabbing a very obese king. The next one is Elijah taunting fake gods. The next one are some baller midwives. The next one is, I can't even see what that is. Elisha. I think it's Elisha sicking some bears on some boys and mauling them. The next one is, who is that one? Oh, it's this guy. And he kills a lion and then he like kills two other guys. I'm explaining these badly. I'll get back to them. And then this one is a prophet making a sword float. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through each of these pictures down here and I'm going to rank them. So my S tier is named Make It John 3:16. So this is a story that I think everyone should know about. I think this is like the best story ever. Everyone should know about it. The next tier down is called Next Sunday Sermon. So I think this should be in like a sermon. Not necessarily like this needs to be on everyone's minds all the time, but I think it's still kind of good. The middle one is like typical Old Testament, a little bit forgettable, like kind of like some other stories. Um, and then the next one down is My Eyes Are Burning. This one is going to be like, ooh, this story, I don't really like it, and I wish I didn't have this visual in my mind about what the story's about. And the bottom one is I'll Never Recover. This one is like, I wish I'd never heard this before because the story is so bad. So let's go through these. I wrote down where all these stories are from, and then I'll give a brief synopsis. So this first one is Korah's Rebellion. This is in let me flip through my pages. Korah's Rebellion is in number 16. And basically, this guy Korah gets together some people of Israel, and they're starting to form an uprising against Moses. And Moses finds out about this, and there's this whole thing that goes down. And basically, God ends up opening the ground and swallowing Korah and all the rebellious people and their sons and daughters and everything. So they're like totally wiped off the face of the earth. And then God sends down fire and consumes 250 more people. So I'm gonna put this one in. I don't know. I'm leaning towards forgettable, but it could be next Sunday's sermon. Maybe. I feel like this is kind of typical Old Testament stuff. So I'm gonna put it in next Sunday's sermon. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. I feel like it could be good. Kind of interesting that the entire ground opened up. So there's that one. Let's go to the next one, which is Balaam's donkey. Okay, Balaam's donkey takes place in Numbers 22, and okay, so the king of Moab hires Balaam, who's like a seer and diviner. I don't know how to say that. to go curse Israel, and God keeps telling Balaam not to curse Israel, but Balaam is not listening, not listening, not listening. Finally, God sends an angel of the Lord onto the path that Balaam and his donkey are on, and the donkey will not go forward. Like it's like pushing Balaam away, like it's going the other way. And so Balaam's like beating this donkey over and over and over again. And finally, God opens up the donkey's literal mouth, and the donkey's like, dude, why are you beating me all the time? Like, I'm your donkey, what are you doing? And Balaam, my favorite part of the story is that Balaam just starts talking to the donkey like this isn't weird at all, like donkeys just talk to him all the time, which I think is problematic if you're hearing donkeys talk to you all the time. And so anyway, um basically, Balaam can't see the angel of the Lord right away, but the donkey can, and so that's why it's not going. But then God opens up Balaam's eyes to the angel of the Lord that's on the path, and he falls down on his face, repents, and doesn't go and curse Israel. So I'm gonna say um, this one is gonna be make it John 3:16. I think that this one is something that all people should know about because it's honestly hecking funny, and you might have heard people say like if God can speak through a donkey's mouth, he can surely speak through yours. So I just think that's a good story, and we'll put that in Make It John 3:16. All right, the next one is David and the 200 Philistine foreskins. So the way that this one goes is that who is it? Oh, Saul has a daughter named Michael, Michael. I don't know. I'll say Michael. It's probably wrong. And basically, her and David fall in love and they want to get married. And so David goes to Saul and is like, hey, can I marry your daughter? And Saul at this point does not like David. He has like a vendetta against David to kill him. And so Saul hatches this plan in his mind. He's like, yeah, you can marry my daughter, but I need 100 Philistine foreskins. And so he concocted this plan so that when David went out there to get all these foreskins, he would be killed in during this process. And so he was like, this is a surefire way to get him killed. Well, it turns out David did that and he doubled the amount. So Saul asked for 100. David comes back with 200. Luckily, Saul is a man of his word in this instant, and then David and Michael get married. I'm going to put this in My Eyes Are Burning. This isn't like the worst thing I've ever heard in the Old Testament, but I also wish that I didn't hear it. You know what I'm saying? Um, like, it's pretty bad. That's kind of sick nasty. And, like, Saul, you couldn't ask for, like, something else. Like, that's what you asked for? Anyway. So, I'm going to put that in My Eyes Are Burning, because they are. The next story, oh, yeah, this one is not good. So in this story, basically some people are traveling. There's like this couple, and they go to stay with this man. It's kind of a long story. And then these people like hear that this man is at this other man's house, and they like come over there, and they're like, bring this man outside. We want to rape him. And the guy's like, no, no, don't do that. Here's my like wife or daughter or servant or something. Like, have her. And so he gives her to these men, and they basically rape her, and she ends up dying. And this is like a Levite that this happens to, or something. And then basically, the girl ends up being chopped up into pieces, and pieces of her are sent to each of the tribes of Israel. And it starts this whole thing. And honestly, this is the worst story, I think, in the Bible. And so I'm going to put this in I'll Never Recover, because anytime I think about the story, I die a little inside, because that's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. So I'm not going to talk about that anymore. I'm going to put that in I'll Never Recover. The next one is Lot's wife turning into a pillar of salt. Oh, I forgot to say that this story is in Judges 19. So if you want to read about the sick, nasty story, Judges 19. Lot's wife turning into a pillar of salt. That one is in Genesis 19. So the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, they're like very much detestable cities. God ends up destroying them, but Moses' nephew Lot and his family live there. And so like Moses and God get them out, and as Sodom's being destroyed, God tells them not to look back when they're fleeing away. And so Sodom's being destroyed, and Lot's wife turns around and looks at the city, and she turns into a pillar of salt. Kind of weird. I'm going to put this one in forgettable. because like this just seems like typical Old Testament stuff. I don't know. It's like, yeah, she turns into salt. That kind of stinks, but like, what's new, you know? Okay, next one is who is this one? Oh, Samson, tearing up a lion with his own hands. So this one is in, oh, which one is this? Oh, Judges 14, and basically Samson is going on his merry little way, and this lion, this young lion, like charges at him, and Samson like rips him apart with his bare hands. And he just continues on his way, doesn't tell his parents. Then he comes back, and there's like honeybees have made a nest inside of this lion. And so he scoops out some honey with his hands and is just eating it. And he's going on his way, and he gives some to his parents without telling them that he literally scooped that out of an animal carcass. So I'm actually gonna put that in my eyes are burning because I can't imagine being his parents and finding out in heaven that you did in fact eat honey that came straight out of a lion carcass that your son destroyed with his own hands. I just think that's kind of sickening, and I would not recover from that. But I'm not gonna put it in I'll never recover because, like, yeah, I don't know. At least he didn't eat the lion. I don't know. I don't know. We're moving on. Okay, this next one is I'm gonna butcher this name, but it's Eutychius, falling out of a window, and this is in Acts 20. So, um, Paul's giving like this sermon, and it's in a building that's like it's on the third floor of a building, and this kid is sitting in the window, and basically Paul is going on and on and on for so long that this kid falls asleep and then falls out of the window and to his death because he just fell 3 stories because of how boring Paul is being. And so they're like, "Oh no, this kid just like died." But Paul raises him from the dead, and he's fine. And so I'm gonna put that one in. I'm gonna put that one in forgettable. It's like fine. No, I'm gonna actually put that in next Sunday sermon. I think that's so funny because it's basically like, yeah, Paul talks so long that he kills a kid. So anyway, I guess he talked a lot like how he writes books. Very long-winded. I love the epistles, but that's just, you know. Okay, this next one is Ehud and a fat king that comes in Judges 3. So this king's name is Eglon, and he's morbidly obese, like very fat. The Bible makes it a point to tell you how fat he is. And so the important part of the story is that Ehud the prophet is left-handed, which seems like a weird thing. But usually, like your dagger would be on your if you're right-handed, it'd be on your left side, so you would just like reach to the left side, take it out. But his was on his right side because he was left-handed, and so when they checked, like they would check him for a dagger or weapon on his left side, but it was on his right side, so he concealed it. So basically, this king is very wicked, and he is trying to like I can't remember exactly the story, but basically like um Ehud is gonna come pay him for something like on behalf of the people, and Ehud's like, "Oh, I actually have a message for you," and then the king's like, "Okay, everybody get out," and then it's just him and the king, and he reaches to his right side, pulls out a dagger, stabs the king all the way through, and the Bible says that the king is so fat that even the like part that you hang on to is engulfed by his fat, and then it goes out the other side. So he's like very big. Um, I'm gonna put this one in. Again, my eyes are burning because just this image of this dagger going through this man, not really something that I want to see it ever again in my life. And so my eyes are burning at that. Oh, the next one is Elijah making fun a of a fake god or fake god. So this one comes in First Kings 18. So this one comes in First Kings 18, and during this time, basically Elijah is going head to head with these pagan people, and he's like, "Fine, if you want to prove that your God exists, let's have like a God contest." And so, like for a long time, they're like talking about an altar, and what they're gonna do is put an offering on there, and then like the fire will come down and consume it. So these pagans are going to town for a long time. They're dancing around, they're singing, they're shouting out, they're cutting themselves for God. And so Elijah is like, maybe your God's on the toilet, you should be louder, which I think is hilarious. That is so funny. Um so it doesn't work. They never hear from their fake God because he is in fact a fake God. And what Elijah ends up doing is he ends up building, like putting a moat around the um, altar and then dumping a bunch of buckets of water on it. And all of a sudden, he just calls out to God, and the entire thing, like the altar and all, is consumed by fire. And so God won. This one, we're gonna put it in Make It John 3:16 because this is such an epic story. Are you joking me? This is so like, oh my gosh, your God probably can't hear you because he's taking a poop. That's funny. That is funny stuff. Okay, the next one is, we're almost through this. Oh, this one is really fun. So there are these two midwives named, I wrote them down, they're kind of weird names, Shiphrag and Puah. So this comes in Exodus 11 and, or no, no, no. Exodus 1 or 11? I think Exodus 1 actually. My handwriting's a mess. Exodus 1, and so the king of Egypt is getting overwhelmed by all the Israelites that are in the land. So if you remember when Joseph came over there, like some other people came over there and they multiplied and grew and grew and grew. And so there's all these Israelites in the land of Egypt, and the Egyptian king is like freaking out. And so he enslaves them, and then they just continue to grow. And so he tells the Hebrew midwives to kill all the baby boys immediately when they're born and then leave the girls to be. But these two Hebrew midwives fear the Lord, and so they're like, we're not going to do this. And so what they end up telling the king is that the Hebrew women are not like Egyptian women. Like these Hebrew women are pushing out these babies quicker than they can even get over there. And so basically they end up saving a bunch of babies' lives, and God blesses them and makes the generations to come from them faithful to him. So that is such a cool story. We're putting this in Make It John 3:16 because these ladies are certified baddies for standing up to a king like this and being like, these women, they're ballers. They're just pushing out these babies left and right. So I think everyone needs to know about this one. It's a good time. We are almost there. The next one is this Elijah or Elisha? It's so confusing because they're like the same names and they happen during the same time. So this one is, oh, this one is Elisha. So Elisha is on his merry little way, and he's being ridiculed by some boys, and these boys say to him, quote, "Get out of here, Baldy." That is funny. "Get out of here, Baldy," they yell at him. And so what does he do? As a prophet of the Lord, he curses them, and two bears come out of the woods and kill 42 boys. This is funny. I think this needs to be next Sunday's sermon because "get out of here, Baldy." Are you joking me? The Bible is so funny. That is like, that's so funny. I love that story. "Get out of here, Baldy." So don't mess with the prophet of the Lord. This next one is Benaiah in First Chronicles 11, and he is a valiant fighter, and so he ends up killing these two great fighters. Oh, I should back up. He's one of King David's valiant men or mighty men, so he's one of King David's army men, and he ends up killing these two guys like in the Ariel family or something. And basically Ariel translates to lion in Hebrew, and so the new King, or the King James version, translates this verse to be Benaiah kills two lion like men, because that's how the name translates. So he kills two lion like men, meaning very strong, and he also kills a lion. So that's pretty good. Kind of forgettable though, honestly. Like that, like there's lots of lying things going on, you know. We we there's just too many lying things going on. And so I'm going to put this in forgettable. It's like fine, but whatever. This last one is about Elisha again. Elisha and Elijah are kind of very ballers, very much ballers. So, in this one, Elisha is with a group of guys and they're like cutting down trees, and this guy hits a tree, and basically the axe head flies off into the body of water that's next to him, and he's like, "No, Elisha, that was borrowed. What am I to do?" And Elisha is like, "Where is it? Point to it." And he throws like a stick in the water, where the axe head is, and then the axe head floats to the top so they can fix the axe. That's like such a strange story. And so for that, I'm going to put that in next Sunday's sermon. It's like not that super interesting. Like I don't think it's like make it John 3:16 level, but I do think we could put this in next Sunday's sermon because that's kind of a fun story. So I guess what we have here is our completed list. In Make It John 3:16, we have Balaam's donkey, Elijah, and ridiculing a fake god for pooping on the toilet. Then we have some baller midwives. In next Sunday's sermon, we have Korah's rebellion, a boy falling out of the window, bears attacking children, and an axe head floating. In Forgettable, we have Lot's wife, a guy killing two men and a lion. My eyes are burning. 200 Philistine foreskins. Samson eating honey out of a lion. That is so sickening. And then Ehud and the Fat King. And in Never Recover, we have that poor woman who is chopped up into a million pieces. So, all right, that concludes today's video. I know it was different. It wasn't very serious, but sometimes you just need to look at funny things. I think that the Bible is full of so many funny things and so many little stories that we don't typically talk about. And so I just wanted to bring some of these to your attention in kind of a different way. Like, comment, and subscribe if you feel so inclined. And thank you again for watching today's video. I'll talk at you next week.